And welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Steins. In the last episode, Rintaro managed to survive the first day with Ruka and the streets of Akihabara, and now it is time for day 2 of the date between Rintaro and Ruka. She's already waiting in the courtyard. When she sees me, she smiles and waves her hand. Indeed, we only have today and tomorrow before Mayuri's unfortunate demise. Must resist the cuteness. It's too bad that Rintaro doesn't have Hououin Kyouma to fall back on. Probably not a good idea to wander around aimlessly like yesterday. But before that, I make up my mind and throw out the question. Could have probably worded that a little differently, but given the fact that Ruka remembered something that she technically shouldn't have, because if you remember in the flashback, Ruka said she was happy about the fact that it didn't matter what gender she was, those of course being the words of Hououin Kyouma. The thing about that particular line of thinking, those particular words, is that those words were spoken by the male Ruka from the other world line, which made more sense given that the male Ruka was being harassed by overzealous otaku fanboys who thought that Ruka was a girl just because he was dressed in Miko shrine garb, which is traditionally worn by women. But, Ruka twitches for a moment, and then she hangs her head. Well, it looks like the second day is going to be a bust, and we're probably going to make Ruka cry again with this line of questioning. Ruka just nods stiffly. I consider a more forceful approach, but the words of that dating manual blaze inside my head. Whatever you do, don't make the girl sad. You might get dumped. If I get dumped, then what will happen to our 4-day agreement? Temporary agreement, I might add. Ruka might refuse to turn back into a guy, in which case we can definitely say farewell to Mayuri. But Ruka's not like that. Mayuri's life hangs in the balance, so I'm sure no matter what I say, she'll turn back. Or is it naive of me to think that, given the fact that, once again, going back to the possibility of the concept that there are 2 world lines, one where Ruka is male and one in which Ruka is female. We are currently on the 2nd world line, so to speak. Either way, even though I'm doing this to save Mayuri, I can't trample on Ruka's pure maidenly heart. Surprising, given that Kurisu herself actually suggested that's exactly what we do, and ultimately regretted those words as a result. And now we're back to the awkward silences. Neither one of us speaks. Mutual distrust, suspicion, discomfort. One word could shatter our temporary relationship. Ruka is the first to break the suffocating silence. As Rintaro said to the male Ruka in the original world line, why are you apologizing?
中止にし
And things could have gone a hell of a lot better. Ruka bows her head and goes back into the shrine office. I hurt her. I feel guilty, but at the same time relieved. I hate myself for it. Well, turns out that day 2 was a bust. Instead of returning to the lab, I stand on the bridge in front of the station and gaze blankly at the stream of people. Varys might be visiting the lab, given that she was there on this day when I first came to this world line. My actions shouldn't have influenced Mayuri's, so she should have called Varys over to show her the costumes, unless we make Ruka cry again, in which case we are basically going to suffer the wrath of Mayushi once again. Right now, I don't want to see anybody at all. I need to think. But try as I might, no ideas come, no solutions. Ruka agreed to be going back to being a guy if I went out with her for a time. I've stayed faithful to that, so... Faithful? How? I just made a huge mistake back there. I've done nothing but make Ruka sad, and we wasted an entire day. Congratulations. Tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 15th, the day ComiMa opens and the day Mayuri dies. At the very least, I need to make our relationship last until that evening. Tomorrow is the end. But I'm not confident I can show Ruka a fun time. So instead of fussing over a date, I'll just try something that won't make Ruka sad. Let's just hope it works. Whatever we come up with. The next morning, after Mayuri and Daru have left for Ariake, I head to the shrine to pick up Ruka. We hop the train at Akaba Station. When she looks askance at me, I tell her we're going to see Mayuri. Today it won't just be the two of us. I don't know what to say when we're alone. I'm afraid I'll just hurt her again. It's time to try something different. When we get off of the train at Tokyo Big Sight, Ruka stares in wonder at the scene spread out before her. Looks like we're going to ComiMa ourselves. People, people, people. People as far as the eye can see. People everywhere. Welcome to ComiMa, the Otaku Festival. Basically a comic convention of sorts. We have one in New Zealand called the Armageddon Expo, which I've been to a couple of times, and I actually found both times the experience rather enjoyable. It's the first day, so Big Sight's more crowded than usual. This is my plan, to take Ruka to ComiMa, not Comica. I'm not making a cosplay, of course. Ruka wouldn't even do it at Mayuri's request, and I don't want to force her to do anything she doesn't want to. We're just here to look and have fun. The first order of business is to hook up with Mayuri and Daru. Those two live and breathe ComiMa, so I'm sure they'll have a lot to talk about. Conversation will flow, and I'll be off the hook. How wonderful to have friends you can count on. Of course, bringing a date to ComiMa is a surefire way to earn myself the hatred of otaku everywhere, but no matter. I'll endure their contempt if that's what it takes to make Ruka happy. So resolved, I strike out through the crowd towards our designated rendezvous point. Ruka, clearly overwhelmed by the sheer number of people, struggles to follow behind. Well, at least there's Mayuri. Near the edge of the parking lot, I see the petite Mayuri wave her hands high. She seems to be especially chipper. There aren't as many people here. Also, Daru doesn't seem to be here. And Rukiko is unfortunately very timid in this situation.
ゆっくりしていってね。
Maybe this wasn't such a good idea after all.
あのね、ダル君はグッズを手に入れるために並んでる最中だから抜け出せないんだって。
So basically we're going to be waiting for him forever.
ひとしきり戦利品をゲットしたら合流するかもって言ってたよ。
Yeah, I've been in those long queues. They're rather brutal and cutthroat if memory serves. That means he won't join up with us for at least another hour. Couldn't he forgo the battle just this once? And Rukiko is still trying to grasp the situation that she's in at the moment. Rukiko's eyes dart from place to place. She's clearly uncomfortable in the chaotic atmosphere. There's still some awkwardness between us after what happened yesterday. Even on the train ride we barely spoke to each other. What's the point in being a couple if it turns out like this? It was easier to talk when we weren't supposed to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Rukiko seemed to enjoy herself more too. Was it a mistake to bring her to ComiMa? Probably. She seems fairly overwhelmed by the crowds of people. Well, Rukiko didn't refuse. Even when I told her we were going to ComiMa, she just nodded obediently. That's because she still thinks of herself as your disciple, Rintaro, or should I say Hououin Kyouma.
今日はマユシーが会場を案内してあげるよ。って言ってもね、人が多いから邪魔にならないようにしなくちゃ。
Yeah, things can get a bit rough in these situations.
まずはコスプレ会場に行って、それから中に入ろうかな。
But only to watch, not to actually participate in. Mayuri's more cheerful than usual. She must be happy to have us here. Maybe she's still trying one last ditch attempt to try and get Rukiko to cosplay.
ねえねえ、二人とも何が見たい？
Oh, we were just going to have a look around, but there's...
見たいものはあるか?
I don't think there's really anything in particular. And of course, Rukiko only wants to see what Rintaro wants to see, obviously. Rukiko shakes her head.
よくわからないので、岡部さんの見たいものを見に行きたいです。
And once again I called it.
俺は別にそれほど興味があるわけじゃない。
And even though he is continuously playing the role of the insane mad scientist who craves chaos, Rintaro Okabe surprisingly has very little interest in otaku whatsoever. Rukiko looks unhappy. I shouldn't have answered like that.
ねえねえ、ルカちゃん、コスプレ会場に行ったらね、絶対にコスプレに対する考え方が変わるよ。
I believe it will be a cold day in hell before that ever happens. And even then, Rukiko won't cosplay, methinks. Mayuri talks happily to Rukiko. I'm glad I chose to rely on this Stitz who can't read the mood.
恥ずかしいとか、そういうのはちっともなくてね。みんなとっても楽しそうなんだから。マユシーのコスを着てくれてるレイヤーさん、楓ちゃんと吹雪ちゃんって言うんだけど、二人のことも紹介するね。
And apparently, Mayuri's two friends, Kaede and Fubuki, are going to be there.
でね、できれば明日も来てほしいな。そしたらね、オカリンとルカちゃんの分のコスも用意しておくから。
And unfortunately, we can't do that because tomorrow is the 16th. Mayuri dies on the 15th this evening, which is very unfortunate.
オカリンにはね、コードジアスのゼロサム様コスが似合うと思うんだ。
That is a very elaborate looking costume there, and in fact the cape will probably suit an insane mad scientist like Hououin Kyouma. Of course, for those of you who are unaware, Code Geass is actually taken from the real world anime Code Geass, that's Geass with a G. I'm not too familiar with it
オ
myself.
カリンが一緒ならね、ルカちゃんも安心してコスプレできるでしょ。どうかな、いいアイデアだってマユシー的には思うんだ。
I think you're trying a little bit too hard to be convincing Mayuri.
却下だな。
And just like that, Rintaro refuses.
ごめんなさい。
And Ruka apologizes once again. Goodbye, costume. Fare thee well.
そんな。
Even after all her persuasion, Mayuri failed to convince Rukako to cosplay. And now Mayuri is the one who is sad. Mayuri slumps her shoulders in disappointment. She is a very unhappy Mayushi. In the end, Rukako and I got fed up with the amount of people and left Ariake early. We took the shuttle bus to Akiba that only runs during ComiMa, but it was so cramped inside I thought I was going to die. Well, that ended just about as we expected. Abysmal. And more awkward silences.
な。
This does not bode well at all. By the time we get back to Akiba, Rukako and I are exhausted. My feet feel like blocks of lead, and I don't have the energy to even attempt conversation. The two of us slip back to the shrine without speaking a word, like Spanish monks under a vow of silence. Rukako doesn't raise a single complaint, but taking her to ComiMa was obviously a mistake. Rukako's expression has been stiff ever since we met up with Mayuri. Maybe she's still traumatized by the otaku. Considering what happened, that's not surprising in the least. The first time I met Rukako, he was being harassed by these overzealous otaku. Maybe they left a bad impression. Though for some reason, Rukako seems to get along well with Daru. We don't talk. We spent most of the day shoulder to shoulder with strangers. I can probably count on my fingers the words I said directly to Rukako today. When we arrive at the shrine, our time as a couple will end. So this is our last chance to talk as boyfriend and girlfriend. But I'm confused. What should I talk about? I try thinking about things we have in common. The demon sword Samadare, the Seishin Zanma school of swordsmanship. But Kurisu said to avoid Chunibiu topics, and the dating manual concurred. What else is there? It finally dawns on me. There's absolutely nothing else Rukako and I share. The only reason why Rintaro and Rukako are friends and acquaintances in the first place is because of Hououin Kyouma, ironically enough. And unfortunately, due to Rukako's inferiority complex, even in the world, either world line, male or female, Rukako gravitated to the rather arrogant, extroverted exterior that was Hououin Kyouma, which may and may not have been a good thing. Silence dominates the shrine, and that is ultimately the problem. Rintaro knows how to deal with Rukako as Hououin Kyouma, but they've never once conversed. He's never once conversed with Rukako, male or female, as Rintaro Okabe. Ever. The silence should be calming, but it's not. I've safely escorted Rukiko home. Mayuri's death is just 3 hours away. The temporary relationship between me and Rukiko ends here. Now I just need Rukiko to give me her mother's pager number. I doubt she'll want to give it to us after what's just transpired. However, is it really okay to let it end like this? In the end, what have I done for Rukiko? I haven't done squat, have I? All I've done is hurt her. And Rukiko is very upset. Suddenly Rukiko starts sobbing. She covers her mouth with both hands, but can't stop the tears pouring from her eyes.
Rukako.
I doubt that there is absolutely anything we could say or do that could console her at this moment. When I approach her, Rukiko pulls back. Rukiko wipes the corners of her eyes, but the tears keep flowing, forming a glistening line down each cheek. I'm speechless. I have no idea what to do. The girl is crying before my eyes. It's my duty as a man to comfort her. I know that, and yet no words come. I just stand there like a useless statue. The cause of Rukiko's tears is undoubtedly me. I didn't treat her right as my girlfriend, even if it was only a temporary arrangement, and even if this is an alternate world line. And now it ends with me watching as Rukiko cries. Rukiko. Kurisu and Mayuri are probably going to be very upset. I'm the one who did this to her. I am the cause of her grief. And yet... True to her nature, Ruka still is polite to Rintaro, even to the very end. She thanks me and bows her head. She lifts her head and smiles shyly through her tears. And yet, your actions belie your words. Unfortunately, as I've said several times in the past, and will definitely say again here and now, these events will never have happened once we go back to the world line where Ruka is a guy, basically. That's a lie. That has to be a lie. To my surprise, Rukiko takes my hand in hers. Her hand is very warm and delicate. This is the first time I've touched her since we became a couple. And it will be the last. Rukiko places a note in my hand. And then she pulls away. She bows her head again. Rukiko turns her back to me and disappears into the shrine office. And just like that, our time with Rukiko has come to an end. Much to our disappointment, I look at the note. There's a number written there. Probably her mother's pager number. She kept her promise, but I did not keep ours. I can't let it end like this. I run full speed back to the lab. Ignoring Kurisu's calls to stop, I slap on the headgear and leap to the past. Looks like we're reliving the events of that third day. And once again, back in time. Probably this time only not that long. Probably only a few hours. So, back to ComiMa where you go. Or maybe we might try a different approach, given how well that worked, in which case it didn't. I regained consciousness in front of Akihabara Station. Of course, well, we probably didn't memorize Ruka's mother's pager number, which means we're going to have to go through this again and have her give us the piece of paper again. Ruka is next to me. We're about to board the train for ComiMa. Not this time. Rukiko looks a little anxious, but she doesn't raise a single complaint. The shuttle bus pulls up. A huge line of people begins to move. Yeah, I don't think she's going to enjoy being at ComiMa. We can't go to ComiMa like this. Shaking off my time leap-induced vertigo, I take Ruka by the hand.
ついてこい。
Once we get out of the line, I let go of Rukiko's hand and start walking.
岡部さん、バス来てますけど。
We're not
コミマ
going.
に行くのは中止だ。
Not this time, because going there was a mistake.
俺は好きにやらせてもらう。
To hell with the dating manual, and to hell with Kurisu Makase's advice on the matter. Rintaro Okabe couldn't settle things, so now it is time for Hououin Kyouma to rise to the fore.
岡部さん、どこへ。岡部さん。
I believe we're going back to the shrine. I keep walking with Rukiko's hand in mine, ignoring everything else. Rukiko looks bewildered at first, but eventually she says no more and just starts following me with a sad expression. Though it's not what you think. We arrive at Yanabayashi Shrine, a place devoid of visitors, where an aura of peace and dignity dominates, and no overzealous otaku to be found for miles, where the cries of cicadas resound. Rukiko's home. Finally I turn to face Rukiko. Instead of letting go, I grasp her warm hand even tighter than before. Perhaps it's the heat or our nervousness, but our hands are damp with sweat. But still, I don't let go. Rukiko is hanging her head. She might cry at any moment.
これで恋人関係は終わりっていうことですよね。
Your relationship with Rintaro Okabe is over. Your relationship with Hououin Kyouma, however, begins now. Her lips tremble. Her voice trembles. I summon my resolve and answer her with a laugh.
何を勘違いしている。
It is time for your training, grasshopper.
俺たちの恋人関係はまだ終了してないぜ。
Indeed, it is time for the Chinibyu to shine. I strike a pose and mimic a line from a popular card battling anime. Until I witnessed Mayuri's death, this was how I acted all the time. Now it takes some effort, but I still have it in me.
でも
さっき言っただろ。俺の好きにさせてもらうと。
Indeed, the Hououin Kyouma way.
さあ我が弟子よ今すぐ妖刀さみだれを持ってくるのだ
It is time to complete your training, Rukuko Urushibara. The wind blows. The tree growing over the main building rustles its leaves in response. Rukuko looks at me blankly. Tears form in the corner of her eyes.
なんです
But somehow I don't think those are tears of sadness.
なんですだと決まっているだろう精神残魔流の修行だ
In fact, this is the first time that Rintaro Okabe has had to behave as Hououin Kyouma in front of Rukuko for a long time now.
修行
この2ヶ月近く俺たち2人でやってきた修行を忘れたのか
いえでも岡部さ
今日まだ我が名を忘れたのかルカ俺は狂気のマッドサイエンティストHououin Kyoumaだ
I believe I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I don't think that Rukuko is ever, the female Rukuko is ever referred to Rintaro as Hououin Kyouma, if at all, on this world line. Swallowing my embarrassment, I strike another pose.
男だとか女だとかそういうところで俺は混乱してルカ子との距離をうまくつかめずにいた
Indeed, the very bond that connected Hououin Kyouma and Ruka Urushibara together in the first place. The reason why Ruka became friends with Rintaro to begin with. I believe while the male Rukuko idolized Rintaro's confident nature, the female Rukuko fell in love with him.
だがな俺とルカ子の関係は初めから決まっていたんだそのことにようやく気づいた
決まっていた何がですか
Ruka's still somewhat unsure, but there is definitely a confident expression in her eyes that wasn't there
俺は
before.
男でお前は女で俺たちは今日までの仮初めの恋人
I take a deep breath. I gently comb my fingers through Rukuko's hair. I twist my lips into a grin.
そんなことはどうでもいい俺は俺でありルカ子はルカ子でありルカ子は俺の弟子だ
As I gently stroke her hair, Rukuko puts her warm hand on top of mine. Indeed, regardless of the world lines, male or female, Ruka Urushibara is still Ruka Urushibara. The tears collected in the corners of her eyes suddenly fall.
京馬さんは確かに
And it seems that
師匠です
seems that Ruka is now overwhelmed with joy and
よく言っ
happiness.
たさあルカ子よサミダレを持ってくるのだ
はい待っててくださいねすぐ取ってきますからここにいてくださいね
どこにも行かないさだから早く行くんだ
Rukuko reluctantly lets go of my hand, shyly turns away from me and heads to the shrine office. And just like that, we have corrected a mistake that should never have been made in the first place. We spend 4 hours training, just like we used to. practice swings with the demon sword, stories of the sword's history, lectures on the intricacies of Zaishinma swordsmanship, all fabricated from my Chunibu delusions, of course. I talk, Rukuko, now dressed in her Miko robes, listens with rapt attention. Occasionally we take a break, sit on the shrine stairway and eat the sweet rice balls that Rukuko's mother brings us. And that's how we spend an extraordinary 4 hours. Well, I would say mission successful.
よし、今日はここまで。
Rukuko lowers her stance and slowly sheathes the demon sword Samadare. She looks so beautiful and majestic standing there in flowing white robes, sword shining in her hands. I find myself mesmerized once again. Rukuko bows, snapping me out of it. Indeed, it's time to focus. And she thanks us with absolute sincerity in her eyes and her voice. Indeed, you appear to have gained a little bit of self-confidence there.
謙遜しなくていい。今日、お前は精神三魔流奥義の一つ、32式さくらんぼを得得した。だが過信はするな。お前はまだまだ弱いんだからな。
Indeed, you still have much to learn, my young apprentice.
はい、もっともっと京馬さんに教えてもらいたいです。
And Ruka has no qualms about playing along with this. The breeze fills knives after the sweat we worked up. We savor our comfortable fatigue as we drink the barley tea Rukuko's mother brought for us.
久しぶりに京馬さんのお話聞けた気がします。
Indeed, it has been far too long.
ここ何日か、俺の意識はマニュアルという恐ろしき封印術式により不安定な状態だったのだ。
Courtesy of Kurisu Makase, I might
だ
add.
がもう完全復活した。心配かけたな。
よかった。いつもの京馬さんが戻ってきてくれて。
And that's probably what we needed to do from the very start. Could have avoided a lot of complications by just acting as ourselves. Rukuko answers happily. And then her expression turns serious, as if she's made up her mind about something.
あの、
She was unhappy before, but now I can see the strength and resolve in her eyes.
昨日僕に聞きましたよね。男だった時の記憶が残っているかって。
ああ。
Yeah, right, we did ask about that. Rukuko looks away. I see her hands fidgeting in her lap. Finally, with trembling lips, she speaks.
僕覚えているんです。
It's exactly the same as Feyre's Nyan Nyan. Ruka, the female Ruka of this world line, remembers her life experience from the other world line. In this case of her male counterpart. No surprise there. I expected she'd remembered after what I'd experienced with Feyres.
覚えているというか、なんて言ったらいいのか。
Yeah, remembering is probably not the right way to describe it.
儚い感じ。
儚い。
はっきり思い出したわけじゃなくて、記憶の海の底の方というか、頭の
Ruka's struggling to explain her metaphors, but Then Rukiko starts pouring the air above and to the side right of her head.
この辺にあるような感じです。
I don't really get it. Me
とに
neither.
かく覚えているんだな。
But at the very least, she does remember. Rukiko nods.
すみません。昨日は嘘をついちゃいました。
As I said before, and I'll say it again, you have nothing to apologize for, Ruka.
気にするな。この俺、Hououin Kyoumaを欺いたのだから大したものだ。
そのおかげでお母さんのポケベルの番号も僕聞かなくても知っているんです。
Which is very good, and very convenient for us because we need to ask you about that. She takes out a piece of paper upon which is written the number.
今日はどんな結果になってもこれを渡すつもりでした。
Just as I thought. Come rain or shine, if she was feeling sad or happy, Ruka would have still given Rintaro the piece of paper anyway, because she is still his disciple.
それからもう一つ。
One more thing. What is this, Jackie Chan's adventures? One more thing!
記憶のことと関係しているかどうかわからないんですけど。
Apparently there's something else. It's about that old computer, and for some reason Ruka didn't speak that out loud. So she does know about the IBN 5100, but that I didn't expect.
IBN 5100のことか。
はい。多分そうだと思います。
You absolutely sure about this? The look on your face tells me yes. True, Rukiko did seem like she knew something about the IBN 5100. Plus, Ruka's dad confirmed it was here at the shrine. It was donated after all, thanks to Fairus. And then one day it suddenly disappeared. Does Rukiko know where it is now?
それが事実なら。ルカ子、お前は男に戻らなくても済むかもしれない。
Be that as it may, Rintaro, we still have to undo this world line. If we don't, Mayuri will die tonight. Therefore, that is not an option, hopeful as that seems. But Rukiko faintly shakes her head.
それは無理だと思います。
It never is, Ruka. It never is.
なんで？
Rukiko grips my hand.
ついてきてください。案内します。
Once again, the pall of doom is pouring down on me. I have a very bad feeling about this. She looks into my eyes. Rukiko is no longer crying. In fact, she's deadly serious. In the fading sunlight, her eyes shine with firm resolve. Looks like she's finally gained some self-confidence after all. She brings me to Daibiru. I look up at the huge towering building.
ここに IBN 5100が。
It's a rather interesting place.
そっちじゃなくてですね。
So it's nearby. Rukiko faces away from Daibiru and points. To a coin locker tucked in a narrow alley.
去年のお正月前。
What happened before New Year's? Rukiko walks up to the coin locker as she talks. So the IBN is kept in here.
うちの神社にあのパソコンはあったんです。
Well, that's very good news. That's good. Until New Year's. So what happened? That's a contradiction. It was only 2 weeks ago that I found the IBN 5100 at Yanabayashi Shrine, which means I really haven't returned to the original world line.
僕のせいなんです。僕がシンジのお手伝いで倉庫をお掃除していた時に。
Come to think of it, I do remember Ruka's father asking her if she was sweeping the storehouse, and I think she said she was.
謝って壊しちゃったんです。
And as a result of your spring cleaning, you broke the IBN 5100.
壊した？
The butterfly effect strikes again. Ruka nods.
でも、もしお父さんに知られたら怒られると思って、それで。
So you somehow managed to bring the IBN 5100 here and you hid it in one of these lockers.
こっそりここまで持ってきて、コインロック。
よくここまで持ってこられたな。あれは尋常じゃない重さだぞ。
Indeed, considering how heavy it is even with 2 people carrying it.
家にあった台車を使いました。そのせいで台車まで壊れちゃったんですけど。
That's interesting. In the world line in which we got the IBN 5100, the pushcart was already broken, so that's another change. Even so, it must have been hard to get here with just the pushcart. Maybe she was running on adrenaline, probably over the fact that she broke the IBN.
京馬さんが探してるって聞いたとき、僕すごくびっくりして。
Which basically means if we want to undo these events and have the IBN restored to us, we are going to have to undo Ruka's D-mail.
本当のことずっと話そうって思ってたんですけど、嫌われるかもしれないって考えたら言い出せませんでした。
Hopefully for the final time I have to say this, you have nothing to apologize for.
バカだな。そんなことでお前を嫌うわけがないだろう。何しろお前は俺の弟子なのだからな。
Those words mean more to Ruka Urushibara than you can ever know, although you probably do, Rintaro.
はい。
Rukako takes the locker key out of her pocket.
もう1年半以上放置したから、管理会社に持っていかれちゃったかもしれませんけど。
So it's been in there half a year.
1年
And if you're
半放置。
correct, then it would have been
だ
taken
としたら
out.
絶望的だな。
Still, we'll have to check. This locker charges 200 yen per day. Fortunately, unfortunately for us, even if it is there, broken IBN is not going to do us much good. Normally, if a coin locker goes unpaid for more than a few days, the management retrieves the contents. And if the owner doesn't claim it within a month, it's usually thrown away. Meaning the IBN 5100 is already... Rukako goes to a large lock at the end of the row, inserts the key and tries the lock, so possibly the bottom locker given how heavy the IBN actually is.
鍵かかってないみたいです。
It's not locked, which can only confirm our worst fears. Sure enough, Rukako opens the door to reveal an empty locker.
すみません。
Either way, it doesn't matter. There's no point in retrieving a broken IBN 5100. But I don't tell her that.
お前が責任を感じなくてもいい。俺が安易に世界を歪ませたのが一番の元凶なんだからな。
There's always a catch when it comes to the world lines. That's why I must bear the burden. Mayuri's pain, Suzuha's pain, Fairus's pain, and now Rukako's pain. Something occurs to me. What if I send an email telling Rukako not to sweep the storehouse? How would that change the world line? Would the IBN 5100 stay at Yanabayashi Shrine, ready for me to retrieve in August, as planned? The answer to that question is probably not, given the fact that we still have to get back to the original world line. But I'll end the episode here, and when we return, adventurers, we shall try and determine our next course of action, and try and salvage this mess. As always, until next we meet.